This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Great show after a great game last night, although there is some debate about that. Whitlock returns from Vegas and he's on fire. The Tony Romo retirement news dominates the show as Colin is sold he's making the right choice to head to the broadcasting booth. Hall of Fame wide receiver Chris Carter chimes in on Romo and says this is what Jerry Jones really wanted for one of his favorite players of all time. Whitlock is still not 100% convinced we've seen the last of Romo, and I totally agree with him. Folks, I'm telling you, if Dak Prescott goes down in week 3 with an ACL, Jerry's picking up the phone and calling Tony Romo. He's not going with Kellen Moore. He's not picking up Mark Sanchez or Brandon Whedon. He's calling Romo. Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard tackles the question, who's higher on the mountaintop, Roy Williams or Coach K? And I agree with Chris Broussard that it's Coach K. And we debate, should John Calipari reconsider his one-and-done strategy in college basketball since experience seems to be winning out? Ready for Speak For Yourself? Cowherd and Whitlock, take it away.
Welcome to the show. Colin actually liked that ugly NCAA title game last night.
That's right, and Jason thinks retirement may not be the right decision for Tony Romo. Speak For Yourself starts right now.
Backup Dak Prescott for $20 million.
Who wants to be a backup?
For $20 million, I do. Welcome to the show. We're joined today by Hall of Famer Chris Carter and Super Bowl champ Eric Davis. Let's start in Dallas, where after months of speculation, Tony Romo was released by the Cowboys today and will join CBS, replacing Phil Simms on their lead broadcast team with Jim Nantz. Romo even tweeted a picture of himself in a CBS jacket this afternoon. Jerry Jones said this about Romo's decision. We wish Tony and his family nothing but the best. As an organization, we did what he asked us to do in terms of his release, and we wanted to do what was ultimately in his best interest and in the best interest of his family. Colin, is this the right move for Romo?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. He's 37. When you look at his injuries, I mean, it's like physical calamity stuff. Everything from punctured lung to 3 broken collarbones. His legacy's set. I don't think he's going to elevate it or it's going to decline if he played another year in Houston. If you're 37 years old and you got a pile of cash and that's what your physical, that's what the doctor tells you has happened to you, I'm okay with a guy saying, I'm going to hold a microphone and broadcast games. I'm totally okay with it.
People think this job is easy, and it's not. A lot of people step up to this plate and fail. Joe Montana. Hey, look, friend of ours, Bill Simmons. People think TV is easy. It's not. And so, look, there is some risk here. He's going to probably make $6-8 million at CBS. I believe Jerry Jones wanted him to be the backup for 20 and was going to keep paying him $20 million a year, could have rolled Dak Prescott and him to a Super Bowl and maybe provided some relief duty. Again, this is not a bad decision, but it's not a layup like he may think or other people may think. Listen.
There is some risk.
Yeah, he will get destroyed if he's not any good at this.
Oh, he's going to get criticized, even if he's good at it.
That's true.
You know, because if you look at, I mean, well, the thing about this job is very difficult. I'll give Tony Romo benefit of the doubt that at least he has the support of the organization and CBS that's going to give him time. But if you look at the guys who do it and do it well, being Troy Aikman, Chris Collinsworth, these guys get criticized an awful lot. So you have to not only be able to stomach the criticism coming from the field, but also, Eric, you have to work at your craft so that you are representative of that number one role.
Well, that's true, but Tony's accustomed to criticism on the field. You know, he's had his share of that, and he's had his share of blame. So do I think it's the correct decision? Yes, because he had already decided he was going to retire. Once you start thinking about retiring, Chris, you did it, I did it. Once your mind goes there, you're no longer willing to do or able to do mentally what's necessary to play the game. So his mind had already moved elsewhere.
And based on what I heard, based on reports coming from NFL reporters out of Dallas, he was not in shape physically for the last 3 training camps.
This is why I think there's risk here. This is a guy that doesn't love preparation. If he doesn't like to prepare on the football field, what makes us think he wants to prepare in the broadcasting? And look, if he's a natural talent like Charles Barkley, fine. Don't prepare, wing it, you're great. But Charles Barkley, as an NBA basketball player, demonstrated his entire career. He's glib. He can fill up a reporter's notebook.
And he didn't have to be a great practicer.
Yeah.
Like Barkley's an all-time. Charles is a natural. And you guys, Charles is sort of a natural. I was covering Charles, and I knew, he's going to be a star broadcaster. Here's the thing. I'm never going to tell a broadcaster what to do with his life. And now Tony is now a broadcaster. What I would say is it's harder than you think. I mean, in the NFL right now, there's two guys who everybody says, they're great. Aikman, who, by the way, broke into NFL Europe for several years, then was the third guy in the booth, and then Collinsworth, who I think's been doing this for 20 years. So,
but the thing that you got that he has the luxury of right now is he's going to get criticized. But CBS also understands that he's never done it, and he has an opportunity to do it. Playing quarterback with that bad back and bad body and everything else going on, he's supposed to know how to do it already.
Golf's first major starts this week, and to celebrate, DraftKings is hosting a free fantasy golf contest with $100,000 in total prizes up for grabs. Pick 6 golfers before the tournament tees off Thursday morning. Rack up points for streaks, per-hole performance, tournament finishes, and more. Outscore the competition and win. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use code SPEAK for free entry into the $100,000 fantasy golf contest starting this Thursday for golf's first major. That's code SPEAK to play free for your share of $100,000 in total prizes. Only at DraftKings.com. Eligibility restrictions may apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
now, while Romo's decision to leave football has made Jerry Jones' life a lot less complicated, right?
Yes.
Releasing Romo will save Jerry around $14 million in cap space this year. That's good. And he will not be forever remembered for shipping the well-liked Romo out of town. Jason, Jerry today called Romo one of the greatest Cowboys ever. Not sure about that, but he was darn good. Do you think he wanted Romo to retire?
I think there were three options. He wanted Romo to be the backup quarterback, in my opinion. Then he wanted Romo to retire. He did not want Romo playing for another team. I think, given his physical health, being a backup was probably his best option in the NFL, and Jerry knew it, and Jerry had the most money to pay him. Then, so Jerry's, man, don't go someplace and sign up for 16 games. You'll never make it. And you have an opportunity to go make big money, big profile on CBS, not just with the NFL, perhaps even with golf and the Masters.
Yeah.
So I think Jerry wanted him to be the backup quarterback and the number 2 option retired.
Listen, let's not downplay this. Jerry now has a former Cowboy as Fox lead guy and a former Cowboy. So the AFC and the NFC, Cowboy.
Yes.
And Jerry has always been flexible. He didn't like Vegas years ago. Then he convinced the owners to move to Vegas. He was all about tradition. Then he got on the phone with Stan Kroenke and said, let's go to L.A. Jerry is a salesman, and he also is very much in touch with not just football, but the brand of football.
Yes.
Jerry has shown a willingness here to change his mind often quickly on big issues. I think Jerry, like you said, I think Jerry wanted him in-house, and then Jason Garrett said, I'm a football coach. Get this guy out of town. It's a headache.
Yeah, I don't think staying in Dallas was an option because they were clear to Tony Romo, you cannot compete for the starting job.
Right.
So when you tell a veteran player that, they're going to be either out of town or retired. Those are the only thing. This is what Jerry is. Jerry's family-owned business is the Cowboys. And what he told his son, Tony Romo, that's his son too, he told him, you know something? If you don't want to be in this business with us, you need to go on and get in another business. Now, I'll give you the blessing on that. If you want to stay in this business, you either stay here or you get out of this business and go to CBS.
You ain't working for another oil company.
Yeah, you can't work for that, and especially the one across the state.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that had a lot to do with
is
it.
like, nah, man.
Yeah, he wanted him to retire because it took all of the decision-making off his plate. Because if he's still there in the locker room, and I'm with you, I think if he had accepted the backup role, he'd still be a Cowboy.
Yep.
But if you're not going to accept that role, now we have to find a way to make certain. He just said he's one of the greatest Cowboys ever. Jerry's still trying to find a way to get him in that ring of honors, and I want to be able to put you there. So I got to get you away. You can't go play for the enemy, and paying attention to what's happening. The CBS Fox angle, you're absolutely correct about that because I worked for the NFL Network once upon a time, and the thing that I can tell you there is that Jerry controlled everything that was on air. He pays attention to the brand and how his team is perceived.
I think it's a marvelous point that I hadn't thought of in terms of the Cowboys brand having two high-profile spokesmen in the best position ever.
Narrative on NFC, AFC.
Yeah. All controlled by Cowboys.
It's like Duke. Duke basketball has all the college broadcasters are Duke grads. Seriously.
We have a few Ohio State ones around there, too.
No, but, the other thing to remember about kind of Jerry Jones and Tony Romo is I'm going to play Tony Romo's agent. So right now I'm Tony Romo's agent, and I'm like, dude, let me tell you what's a bad look. You ain't getting this CBS job if for 20 weeks the camera is Tony Romo hat on backwards as a designated backup.
Ooh,
today...
That opportunity won't be there. Yes.
The branding was horrible. If I'm his agent, I'm like, dude, people now love you.
Giving Dak tips. No. That's not impressive.
By the way, you don't get that CBS.
Hire.
That's right. In 1 year, you don't get. What if Larry Fitzgerald retires and CBS goes, we like Larry
Fitzgerald? Still my material, man.
Was that yours?
You know that.
All right, welcome back. Chris Carter, now joined by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's move to college hoop. That majestic beauty last night. North Carolina beat the Zags.
A classic.
To take home the school's 6th national championship. Tip of the cap, Tar Heels. But perhaps the bigger story last night was the refs, who to some slowed down the game with their overly aggressive calls. Now, Roy Williams and Mark Few addressed the officiating after the game.
I mean, it's a very difficult game to call. I'm sitting over there. I'm not thinking the officials are doing a terrible job. I swear to goodness, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking our offense stinks. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, I told them, don't worry about what the referee's doing. He missed a call. Well, my God, we missed 4 free throws in a row. We missed layups, so we were at fault just as much as anybody else.
Okay, first of all, I mean, those were 3 of the best officials in the entire country, NBA, college, or anything. I had no issue whatsoever. I thought they did a fabulous job.
Yeah. Who's crazy? Did you enjoy watching it?
It was terrible.
Oh, God.
We got to be honest. It was terrible. Listen, I was in a sports book at the MGM, big crowd. People were hissing and booing.
Okay, but it's a sports book crowd.
No, I understand that. But, again, I didn't even have real money on the game. I bet $100 on Gonzaga. I really didn't have any real, and so it wasn't a gambling interest. That was bad basketball.
According to fans, since when do refs worry about the flow of the game for fans?
Whoa. I just heard Roy Williams say his offense was horrible.
Yeah, everybody's offense was bad this year against Carolina, and everybody's offense was bad against Gonzaga. What's wrong?
Yes.
What's wrong with that kind of basketball?
Because the Jackson kid never took an on-balance shot. When given an opportunity to take on-balance shots, he jumped to the side.
Yeah.
They were blowing layups.
It was physical. These are real teams.
Sandor Klingang from Game of Thrones, the center for Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Those bunnies he was blowing.
Well, I mean, you know why he's blowing those guys? Because he's got a 6'11" guy right in his chops. It's called defense.
This is what kills your argument. And I don't want to say it was terrible defense. The defense was pretty good. But they shot 58% from the free throw line, North Carolina. Gonzaga shot 65%. That shows they just are not good offensively. So it's not all
They just weren't
defense.
good offensively that night.
Yes.
Well, the MVP, Barry, he shot 27% in the Final Four. Or MOP. I mean, the offense.
Well, because he was.
You thought it was a good game last night?
No, I didn't think it was a good game. But this is what we have to change our optics to. This is the way college basketball is. If you watch it the last couple years, they've changed the rules. They call it tighter, and they expect the players to adjust. My biggest problem was the players. The second half, from the second half tip-off until about 15 minutes left into the game, both teams needed one foul to get into the bonus. They should have adjusted into the second half. They didn't adjust to the refs. So
but
you just
refs, they call too many
This
fouls.
is the way it is in
UCLA, when UCLA plays, it's not like this.
Yeah, because UCLA is a great offensive team.
Yes.
UCLA doesn't play any defense. That's why the games are fun to watch.
You like this game. You know what I like? This reminded me of those New York Knicks, Miami Heat playoff games in the late 90s that were terrible basketball, always in the 70s and 80s. But you know what? with 2 minutes left, it was guaranteed to be within 3 points. So it was drama, it was suspense,
Okay,
it
so
was
that's
great.
my point.
At the end, first 45 minutes were terrible.
They do documentaries at our former employer. 30 for 30s on Knicks Pacers, the way basketball should be. Those games average 65.
I think you added that last little subtitle, the way basketball should be.
Why does basketball have to be three-pointers, no bigs, no fouls? Charles Oakley, we all love Charles. He couldn't play in the league today because he can't shoot a three.
One reason why this game was different also, the referees and the way they call things, but also these are senior-laden teams. These aren't kids. Now, these were grown men on the court. They didn't adjust to the way the refs were calling everything.
But
they were slipping.
If anybody's going to adjust at the college level, it would be upperclassmen.
You would expect that.
And they
so
didn't do
that's
that.
a responsibility to that.
They were slipping and falling, bad passes.
Missing layups.
It was
for 27.
By the way, Dwayne Wade had a tweet last night. I laugh at everybody saying how bad this basketball. So Dwayne Wade's tweet last night is, hey, let these kids play, put the whistles away. 26% of Dwayne Wade's career is free throws. Here's a guy that's made his billions on
a title.
getting fouled.
I want to make one point. I really, and we don't have enough time, but I think every time I get to the NCAA title game, last year's game was very good, Villanova, North Carolina. But for the most part, if you look at the way the national title games have been trending in these domes, it hasn't been good. It's been brutal. The other part, I'm just going to say, what this looked like to me was the baby that AAU has been raising. That was a YMCA AAU national title game played amongst seniors. And Jackson being a freshman, the Collins kid, the freshman for Gonzaga, that looked like what AAU basketball has been building for a long time. I've known Roy Williams for 20, 25 years. The man's a hell of a coach. His team looked uncoached last night.
I disagree.
I would disagree with that. I think the one and done teams, Kentucky, are more AAU.
Yes.
I think, but I think this may be the trend if upper class
By the way,
teams
almost
with
no
chemistry are going to win.
Gonzaga and remember, Oregon was red hot. They suddenly played North Carolina, shot 35%. Gonzaga was red hot. Faced Carolina, shot 35%. When I have six guys, 6'8" and over, push, seniors, not boys, men, push. It's funny how those hot teams don't shoot well.
Open shots.
So what was North Carolina?
Let's give Carolina a little love last night.
Yeah, what was North Carolina?
They were putting up threes, Colin. They were just missing them.
Not only did UNC get their sixth title, but Coach Roy Williams got his third, moving him past mentor Dean Smith for the most in school history. The win also improved Roy's stock compared to another coach well known in North Carolina, Coach K. Since going to Chapel Hill in 2003, Roy has more national titles and Final Fours, more #1 seeds, and more ACC titles than Coach K. Colin, does Roy Williams now belong in the same class as Coach K?
No, because what Roy Williams is a great domestic brand, like Jim Calhoun. Coach K is an international brand. He's coached the Olympics. Duke is not a domestic brand. If you go to Saudi Arabia, London, Berlin, and you say you have a 4-point student, they will consider going to Duke. Duke transcends basketball. It's like the Lakers. The Lakers' global sales for their jerseys, and they're bad for 5 years, are more than every other team in the league combined. The Lakers aren't a domestic brand. Duke is Kentucky's college hoops. Duke is excellence. Medical school, law school, broadcasters, basketball. To me, Coach K has guided that transcendent brand globally to a new place.
Since 2003, we put the facts up there.
All right.
The facts of who's done a better job and who's had more success.
Yes.
He's only had since 2003 to do the job. And he's been kicking Coach K's butt since 2003.
Kicking his butt, he's got one more title. That's kicking his butt.
He's got 8 ACC titles. Coach K has 3. He has 7 #1 seeds.
Yeah.
He's got more Final Four. Kicking his butt is strong. Look, Coach K is awesome. Is Roy right there with him since 2003? Hell yes.
I think Roy Williams is elite. I put him with anybody else, but there's John Wooden, there's Mike Krzyzewski, and then there's everybody else. He's with the top of the everybody else. Bobby Knight, Jim Calhoun, all those guys.
Bobby Knight created Coach K.
Whatever, Coach K surpassed his mentor. There's no question
John
about
Belushi
that.
who's the guy that I love, David Spade's best friend. Remember John Belushi? Chris Farley. Chris Farley's funnier. Chris Farley's funnier than John Belushi, even though John Belushi precedes him.
Let me tell you what Bobby Knight did. He went 36-0, and ain't nobody else ever did. He created the perfect basketball team.
This is the thing that also works for Krzyzewski. Team USA. Now, you can say anybody would have gone there and done that, but he led the resurrection of Team USA, and he's got all these legends, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, who will swear by him. So that's something Roy Williams does not have. Roy is great, but whatever the case,
it wouldn't do those superstar players the same thing negative about Coach K anyway, because he's appointed to the position. They know they're going to be stuck with him. So why make my life more difficult and say something that people think highly of and get myself in the hot water? So that in itself doesn't give him credibility to me.
But it does around the world.
Okay.
I mean, the fact players.
We're talking about us four right now.
Perception is often reality. See, I think you're right. I mean, especially when Roy Williams has only coached 29 years, 42 for Krzyzewski. So you can argue he's done just as, or it's close.
Yeah, but they're still not in the same
perception,
class.
Krzyzewski is larger than life when it comes to basketball, and Roy's not.
I mean, 42 to 29, but also we can't omit the first 14 years, 15 years in Kansas. If he had won a title there, if he had won 3 in North Carolina, he would be at 4. I'm just with the basic math. I'm from Ohio, went to a public school, went to a public university, Ohio State, okay? Look, all right? 3 plus 0 at Kansas is 3. Coach K in the 42 years has how many?
5. Listen, great argument. Totally get it. But I'll just say this. That appointed position with Team USA, there's a machine. Listen, there's a machine behind him at Duke. That again, Roy
no machine at North Carolina.
He just stepped into it since 2003, and he's being very successful with that machine.
Well, according to their tests, I understand some of the success.
Trust me, they got a machine at Duke. When I say machine, everybody's got the same machine. Some are just prettier and got a better shine on them, but it's the same machine in all these programs.
That machine is created because of the brand that Coach K created. There's a machine behind Brady. That's because everybody's like, give Brady players, he wins Super Bowls. That brand, that machine, is well earned by Coach K.
See, I'm put in a bad position where I'm knocking Coach K. I like Coach K. I just happen to like Roy Williams well, too, and I know his work a little better. And since 2003...
The head-to-head is your best argument.
Roy's got to take a backseat to no one. All right, welcome back. Chris Carter and Jason McIntyre are back. Let's return to college hoops, where last night's title game between UNC and Gonzaga featured exactly 0 one-and-done stars, and UNC beat Kentucky on their way to the title. And while Roy Williams has ridden upperclassmen to 2 straight title games, Colin's man John Calipari's team has underperformed, according to Colin, in recent years. Despite churning out NBA stars, Colin, should Calipari stop building around one-and-done?
No, it's his brand. It's a good brand. He's got a title. If they land about 2 more recruits in this class, they'll probably be favored next year. It's a good brand for him. Listen, Boeheim does the zone, and Boeheim's known for the zone. Now, Boeheim has only got 1 title, but he's known for it. That's his brand. Starbucks got in trouble when they started getting into ice cream and movies. They do coffee drinks. Calipari owns a space. He owns the one-and-done. You ask 15-year-olds, there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, he's won a title. Every single year at Kentucky, they're top 3 favorites in Vegas. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, I don't, last night, I'll be honest with you, I wish there were some one-and-done stars in that game. People that could, great talents that could knock down shots in the moment.
Gonzaga might have a one-and-done. They're center to 7-footer.
Collins, some people that could handle the moment. And so I thought that last night missed the superstar one-and-done guys. And so, Calipari's having success with the way he's running his program. I don't see any reason to change. And I would tweak. You got to have some role players. You got to have some experienced guys that can handle a little foul trouble. But, massive changes for Calipari, hell no.
Yeah, they've been to, 6 Elite Eights in 8 years? Like you said, it works. But I guess my only issue is when you're doing this every year, rotating in 18 and 19-year-old freshmen, you're playing against men in the Final Four. Karnowski was 23 years old last night. Okay, they had a 22-year-old. Oregon had a 25-year-old guard on their team. That's going up against 18 and 19-year-olds. That's a big obstacle for a young kid who's a freshman going up against almost a grown man at 25.
Well, that's what you sign up for, and they've been very, very successful. How are they successful? You mentioned the Elite Eight. In 8 years, they've been there 6 times. He's won 1 title. Coach K, he was there 40 years. He's won 5 titles. So if Coach Cal stays there 40 years, he'll win 5 titles. One every 8 years.
Boy, that's good.
All right? So also, look at the development of players, all right? On and off the basketball court. Number one, his players don't get into a bunch of trouble. Don't read a whole bunch about them, even though they might be one and done.
Only there 5 months.
Okay, look at the economic changes that he's making in these kids' family. Year after year, that can be charted as successful, all right? You can't put an exact number to it. And also, their basketball development, all right? He's responsible that he knows he has really talented players, and he gets them to the next level because he gets all of them to buy into playing defense. Now, if they just ran up and down the court, there wasn't any fundamentals to it, then I would be, yes, against this. But I like Coach Cal. I like his system. I've been inside the program, so I know what he does for players. And actually, Coach Cal coached me when I was in high school at summer basketball camp. So I've been a fan of his for a long, long time.
We tend to overreact. Like today, one-and-dones are bad. But it should be noted, if Kentucky lands, I think, 1 or 2 more players in this recruiting class, they'll be the favorite next year. Some of this winning the championship thing, and I hate this word, but is luck. I mean, Oregon gets a rebound, they maybe beat Carolina. I mean, Gonzaga, West Virginia, Roy was at Kansas for how long? 15 years?
Close.
Roy had great teams, and there'd be an injury. Or a star got in foul trouble. Carolina got some breaks. Zach Collins got into foul trouble. Gonzaga missed 4 gimmies. This could have been Gonzaga's title. Let's not sell the one and done as not working.
Would we agree that Gonzaga was the better team last night? North Carolina just came out on top. I thought Gonzaga, from what I watched, Gonzaga was the better team.
What I saw last night was a team that plays in a big-time conference, and they play in a bunch of tight games. So the last 5 minutes of the game, that played out where they're used to playing in tight games compared to Gonzaga with the one tight game they had.
A better team was actually the team Don Staley coached, South Carolina. When you come to all these championship games, the best basketball was played over in the women's bracket.
Oh, really?
That was
the semifinals was amazing.
That was a nightmare game last night. There was no better team. And look, you know who should be maybe adjusting their one-and-done approach is Coach K. Because again, Roy Williams is on his ass right now. Coach K might need to adjust.
Get off of Coach Cal.
I thought you were going to say Bill Self.
Yeah, no. He might need to adjust what he's doing because right now UNC is better than Duke.
Let's be honest. We've been on Coach Cal. Now,
no, you don't know. You.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Okay, all right.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, some others have been on Bill Self.
Yes.
There was a time when Coach K didn't embrace the one and done. We were on him.
Yep.
Boeheim still gets flack. All these college coaches, if you win a title, Tom Izzo now gets heat. Well, it was just the Mateen Cleaves. It's hard to win. You need some breaks. You need the refs. You need health. They're all pretty good coaches.
This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. As always, make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast to hear it. We're on SoundCloud, YouTube. We field all your social media questions and requests. And check out our Instagram page. It's fun. Talk to you guys tomorrow.